This is the Ask Faleskini podcast, where the modern economy is discussed from a skeptic's perspective. Mr. Faleskini helps you distinguish what is sustainable in our economy and what isn't. Not everything that glitters is gold, and not all mud is dirty. The podcaster Mr. Faleskini provides no-nonsense advice. He had it all, lost it all, went bankrupt multiple times, and is now attempting to come back from zero with sustainable growth. There are numerous coaches and preachers on the internet that preach about positive thinking and how life is all roses if you just care to see it that way. Well, Mr. Faleskini is definitely not one of them. We recommend you ask Faleskini to keep it real. He discusses the darker side of the current economic reality, the side that's more important for your personal and business finance. His first intention is to help you keep what you already have. Not to be a complete party pooper, Mr. Faleskini will also hint at the earning opportunities in the economy today. In order to please the almighty algorithm, please like, share, and subscribe. And now it's time to start taking notes. The mic goes to the podcaster, the one and only Mr. Faleskini.
Welcome to the Ask Faleskini podcast. In my 25 years in business, I've experienced a lot of market crashes. Most of these crashes were local crashes. So local market would crash, either local property market, either local bond market. But I've also experienced Dotcom bubble and the financial crisis of 2008. I've experienced major failure, but luckily I've also experienced a lot of success. I like to use someone else's quote. I made a lot of costly mistakes, but the experience I got is priceless. In this episode, I will share some of my experience and 5 hands-on advice that should help you navigate any market crash. Let's start with the theory. In order to understand mechanics of market crash, let's start with the macroeconomic view. Most economists would define market crash as a huge drop in demand to the extent that influences the quantity of supply or prices, or in most cases, both. Regardless of which market we're on or we're talking about, the price and supply usually tanks. In most cases, market crash starts with the lack of demand. That results in oversupplied market. However, that quickly turns around and suppliers stop supplying because their viability is no longer there. And that results in a lack of supply and also really low prices of the product or the services. And let's go into the microeconomic view or hands-on how this would look. If a new car costs $50,000 before the market crash, after a 50% market crash, this same new car would be sold for $25,000. This might be beneficial for buyer, but might be devastating for the dealer or producer of the car, because the costs or the purchase price of the car is highly likely to be higher than $25,000. Let me continue by stating that market crash is nothing more than just new equilibrium between price and quantity. Of course, a market crash might be devastating to those who cannot adapt to new prices or new quantities fast enough, namely those who cannot lower their costs fast enough. But don't forget, all of us as companies and individuals play at least 2 roles in the market. We are buyers and sellers. In some roles, we will profit, and in other roles, we might lose a lot when market crash occurs. The biggest problem is if we have more problems than we see opportunity in the time of market crash. But the key to thrive during a market crash is that our wins outnumber our loss. As in economy, so in nature. During normal weather, old strong trees get much more sun than the small and more flexible trees. However, when there's extreme wind or tornado, the strong old trees will be hit the hardest. And the small trees that are still flexible will probably be on a better track to survive. As a consequence, under the storm, the old firm trees will be fallen all around and in strong possibility that they will rot. And this place will be taken by young and flexible trees. So be young, stay young, be flexible in any economic situation. Enough of the theory. Let's check how we can prepare ourselves and our company for the market crash with the following 5 activities. First one is strive to make all your costs variable. How do you achieve that? Start with minimum provisions. Try to employ people on a project. When the project is finished, let them go. If you don't have a new project, do not keep them employed. Engage resources, all resources on a project. Use rented car if necessary, or rent office or bigger office just for the time when you're working on the project. So when the project is finished, you should be free. Engage all your resources on a project. If you have a short-term project, do not purchase cars, do not purchase equipment, do not purchase office or warehouses. Just use rent as much as you can. The key to making all your costs variable is utilizing resources just when you need them. So do not purchase resources if it's not absolutely necessary, or rent resources. If you have to purchase resources like special machines or vehicles or something, immediately after the project stops, sell them off. Advice number 2. If you are in the service industry, try to achieve profit share deals with your suppliers. So if you are supplying a service that you're buying from someone, do not get involved in any contracts with minimum order quantities, with fixed monthly retainers and similar. Make all the costs variable by paying only if you get paid. So important is that instead of retainer, offer higher percentage of the turnover that you will get from your client in order to stay flexible. So when the client is not paying you, you don't need to pay to supplier of services. That is the key for profit share deals. Especially if you're working with advertising or marketing agency, push them to do profit share deals with you. So do not pay for advertising space and for hours and designs and all this stuff. Agree on a profit share that would be acceptable for them. That is usually much more expensive if than it would be if you would have a normal circumstances on the market. However, even if you pay much more and if you are still profitable, do this, because it will cost you much more if you have to pay retainers for a time that you don't have clients. Advice number 3, make sure that you can supply new products or new services, or that you are flexible enough to sell to a new market. Why is that important? Because usually in a time of market crash, people start buying other brands, other products, and usually in the beginning of the market crash cycle, people tend to go towards cheaper brands. So if you are a retailer, try to get a stock of cheaper brands that you will be able to sell during the first phase of the market crash. And how do you get the feedback that you need? What products your clients will be buying if prices go up? the best thing is to get feedback from your existing clients. And do not forget, always be on the look for new suppliers, because a lot of suppliers will not be able to withstand the market crash. Always be on the look for new markets. Maybe the shop in neighboring town has closed. Go there, give flyers, invest in advertising, try to get clients from different shops to you. Even if the location was previously served by other suppliers, maybe the supplier went out of business, so you try to take their spot. Advice number 4, transfer the risk of sales to supplier. How do you achieve that? There are many possibilities. The perfect scenario would be if you can agree with your supplier that you get their stock in your warehouse and that you have it on your shelves. And when something is sold, that immediately or next day you pay to the supplier. Alternatively, agree that you get some stock of their supplies. However, all that you cannot sell, that you are eligible to ship back and they will refund it. Advice number 5. This one is the hardest to achieve, but it's the most efficient one. And that is lower your costs with automatization, optimization, and outsourcing. How do you achieve that? Be on the look for new technologies, new apps, new solutions. All these technologies should improve your business process or help you lower your costs in existing processes. If possible, try to outsource things. Why is outsourcing so attractive? Because usually, if you can outsource services to someone else or production to someone else, you just pay for the services that you order. So you don't have worker that works for you but has only 20% of their time filled because you don't have orders. I would also stress that it's important to understand what is your core product. And if you understand what is your core product and your core service, you should strive that you outsource everything else in your company in order to get your company to be as lean as possible, so that you only pay for services or for goods when you have a buyer for it. Try to avoid doing everything in-house. And let me conclude by stating the following. Do not fall for catastrophizing of mainstream media. Everything cannot get worse for everyone. That is theoretically impossible. You need to understand that with a lot of disasters and bad things happening in economy, there are always new opportunities. It's up to you whether you are prepared to take advantage of these opportunities. Never believe that you are a victim or collateral damage of the market cycle or market crash. Regardless if you are a buyer or a seller, you are a player on the market. Never give away your position of power as a player on the market. Stay positive and look for opportunities. It's paramount to focus on opportunities, not problems. Focus on good, not bad. It's also possible that you will fail in the market. Maybe you won't be fast enough. Maybe there won't be opportunity in your region. Maybe you're over leveraged. Regardless of all these problems, if failure becomes imminent, fail fast. Do not strive to save your business beyond the reasonable effort. Fail fast. I have a podcast on how to fail fast, so check that podcast as well. All this was more or less just theory. If you want me to help you or your organization with hands-on advice how to adapt to market crash, just contact me.
Thank you, Mr. Faleskini, for this outstanding podcast. And thank you for listening to the Ask Faleskini podcast until the end. Mr. Faleskini would love to hear your feedback in the comments. And don't forget, if you want to know, ask Faleskini or listen to the Ask Faleskini podcast. In order to please the almighty algorithm, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.